one in the chat. Fernando in the building. What's up, Fernando? All right. Anybody wants to come up on stage? I see you, Brandon. Anybody wants to come up on stage? We're going to be talking about entrepreneurship and real estate. A lot of people think they are always one and the same. I guess technically it is. But when I look at entrepreneurship, I got to get my lighting right because it's going to be on YouTube and everything else. I just got a brand new S-curl kit yesterday. So I'm excited about that. All right, let's rock out. All right, entrepreneurship and real estate investing. You know what it is, Brandon. A lot of people don't know what that S-curl kit is. Look, I've been using the same kit since 1980, 87, 88. It's just between me and you, brother. All right, when we talk about entrepreneurship, I'm talking about, not being self-employed, because that's the road to entrepreneurship, but I'm talking about ultimately having a business that you can walk away from. We know that most businesses fail within the first 5 years. I've had a few successful, Krista said I didn't know that was a thing. Yes. I had a few successful businesses. I mean, successful by the average person's standard, not necessarily successful by my standard, but they cross the 7-figure mark. So just my credentials, I always like to lead with that, because if you're getting information from somebody, I think that it's imperative that they actually are doing the stuff that they say that they are doing. So many of you have been following me for some time now. My name is Otis James. I'm a full-time real estate investor out of the San Francisco Bay Area. I'm also probably most known for being the founder of the 4 Data Points Academy, which is the only real estate investing training program that doesn't have an end date. We let our real estate family, or what you guys would call students, determine when they no longer need the help, because eventually they're going to become seasoned. And if I'm doing my job right, they become seasoned sooner rather than later. So I bank on that, because the more time and resources I have to allocate to somebody in perpetuity, the more it costs me. So, and I put that in writing too. That's one of the only guarantees that I make. I guarantee that I will turn you into a real estate investor. Let me not say I, because it's not just me. We will turn you into a real estate investor, even though y'all see my face most of the time. But I'm a long-term hold investor, a value-add investor. I'm well-versed on the mortgage side. I actually ran a brokerage for about 13 years with my father. We funded just short of $1 billion in the time that we did that. Come on up, Fernando. I spent the better part of, over 2 decades in the multifamily commercial industry. I left at the corporate level, and the only reason I left was because I really enjoyed it. I love multifamily commercial. I love the operation side of things. Fernando, go ahead and go on mute. We just got a little feedback, brother. I love multifamily commercial. I love the operation side of things. And when you couple that with being a real estate investor, you can be really, really dangerous. A lot of people don't realize acquiring the real estate is the easy part. Operating the real estate is where 90% of the people fall short. They usually have to outsource that to someone else. So I'm a long-term hold investor, well-versed in the multifamily commercial industry. I invest all over the country. I teach people how to invest realistically. That means I manage their expectations. I don't have the luxury of promising them the world and not delivering, because unlike other programs, I have to look at you. I have to look at you every single week. So if something's not working, that's going to be some real awkward meetings and awkward conversations. But I'm highly confident in my ability to turn people into real estate investors. I consult on multiple development projects. I've got one project going on in Texas. I got another commercial project going on in a different part of Texas. I've got a project going on in Georgia right now that I'm doing with some students. I typically can go wherever the money is. And some projects I do just because I enjoy doing those types of projects. When we exit, instead of me buying a Porsche or buying another cash flowing asset, which is what I should be doing right now, I put a lot of that money back into our training program so that we can create a better end user experience for our students. Because keep in mind, they don't keep paying. So they pay once and they could be with me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years. Though, after the first couple of years, it's more of a community and we do some cool stuff together. I always encourage people to check everything that I tell you, check. Even if it's about me, whatever I say, you should be able to verify. If I tell you that, I took $585 one day and came up with a company that ended up generating 7 figures, you should be able to verify that. If I tell you I spent 2 decades in the multifamily commercial industry overseeing $650 million in multifamily commercial assets, you should be able to verify that. If I tell you to go online and our Google reviews, we got about 100 5-star reviews for the 4 Data Points Academy, you can just go and verify that. There's people in our audience, in every audience that I'm at, or that are typically in our real estate family. You should be able to go in the chat and say, hey, is anybody really following this guy, or is anybody, really working with this guy? And the people will speak for themselves. I don't have to speak. Part of the reason we call it a real estate and family and not students and mentees and all that other stuff. First of all, those words make me, nauseous. But we call it a real estate family because we do far more than a real estate investing training program is supposed to do. Because in my opinion, I think there's certain things that are required. For example, it's certain situations, I think it's easier for me to just step in and take over for one of my students than just educating them and telling them to go out there and be great. I understand as a trainer and as somebody that has spent a majority of his life exposed to real estate investing, the anxiety and the nervousness and all those things can make it harder for you to move forward. So in many cases, I'll just go ahead and take over. I'll go ahead and talk to the seller. I'll go ahead and actually do the contract for them, whatever it takes, until they're comfortable enough to do it on their own. I think that's what true mentorship is. It's not just giving people a bunch of information and having to rely on that information. One of the reasons is because that information can change, right? So, I've been criticized for making a poor business decision by only allowing people to pay once and allowing them to stay with me for a lifetime. But I didn't get into this to get rich teaching people how to do real estate. There's a lot of ways to get rich. And I think if you do good business, the money is just a byproduct of that. So anytime we hit a 7-figure benchmark, it's typically because we've been going way above and beyond. Now, that being said, this ain't a big sales pitch. What up, Jay? Come on up, brother. It's not a big sales pitch. I'm just letting you guys know who we are, because the biggest complaint that we have is that people didn't know about us before they got into whatever trouble they got in the real estate investing space. So that being said, we are going to, what's up, Frenchetta, Bryant, over on Instagram. Long time no see. That being said,
What up, bro? What's happening, bro?
What's up, man? What brings you up, Jay?
I'm just chilling, man. I'm just listening as usual. I did have a question, but I'm about to jump into a meeting, so I'm going to listen in, and I'm going to circle back when the meeting done.
Amen. I mean, I can answer the question real quick, but I'll leave it on you. You guys are on, actually, I'm going to put in the chat what our TikTok live is. It is, what's my username on TikTok? I should go to TikTok. What's my username, y'all? It is at 4 Data Points. So if you guys want to check me out on there, you're more than welcome to. I am going to go back and forth with the questions. If you guys are on Clubhouse, and for those that aren't on Clubhouse, Clubhouse is a social audio app where they can hear me, and we have our avatars and pictures up there. They can come up on stage. They can ask questions. They can put questions in the chat. I will be going back and forth to answer all those questions. I am not going to end the live until all the questions have been answered, no matter how simple the question or how complicated the question. Most of you know how I feel about disseminating information. I don't think the power is in the information. The information is necessary, but I don't think that's where all the value is. In my opinion, the value is holding your hand in the real world during the practical application of that information. A lot of these programs are selling you, information that you can get for free or relatively no cost for, $10,000 and $15,000. We don't do that. So I've been teaching, a lot of these strategies for free online on the different platforms, so that when people call me and they want to join our real estate family, they already see the value. So I don't have to try to convince somebody whether or not they need me. That being said, let me see, what else do I do? Okay, I'm licensed in life insurance. I'm a licensed real estate broker in California and Georgia. I was a notary and had a national notary signing agent company. What else? I've consulted on projects, development projects, domestic. I was able to consult on some projects in different parts of Africa, specifically Senegal. Some of my students, are pretty, sharp, right? And really, really smart in their respective fields. And some of them are pretty powerful. And they got me in a room with the vice president of Gambia to talk about a Twin Towers project that they were looking at doing over there. And I don't think I could have gotten there on my own. But we live in an environment where it's really hard to find people to trust. And I was one of those folks. So a lot of opportunities, open up, especially in a world where, every guru, it seems like after, 1 or 2 years, they start getting dragged through the mud for embezzlement or something crazy. So, so it is what it is, baby. So let's get into it. Again, Clubhouse, you guys have any questions? Lou, it's at 4 data points. I don't know what, I don't know. You put at 4 data, but I'm not sure. It's at 4 data points. I hope. All right. Let's talk about the first step. We're going to get into entrepreneurship principles. Oh, what's up? What's up, Rose? You going to share my room, Rose? Because I see 3 shares. I'm going to check to see if one of them was you. I appreciate you guys sharing the room on TikTok. That's our new page. And we are trying to blow it up. And I'm going through the grind of doing that. And you guys ever have a birthday party when you was a kid and then nobody shows up? That's what it's like when you got a new page on TikTok and you go live and there's like 5 people. But one person signed up for our real estate family because they were one of those 5 people. And they go, man, I was just so impressed on how you were teaching like you were talking to 5,000 people. And, I just really, I really tuned in. I really appreciated that. And and they were new. They haven't been following me, so they don't know I'm pretty seasoned when it comes to doing this stuff. But I really appreciated that. I thought that was really, really cool. All right, let's jump into it. What's the 4 data points and why is it so important? Well, many of you have heard me say the 4 data points are the foundation of real estate investing. Now, when I started teaching people how to invest in real estate, and mind you, I've been teaching people for some time. I would train people when we had a real estate brokerage, but I would only train them in the mortgage finance and the real estate sales component of it. Will you leave the replay of the live on Clubhouse? Yes, I will. But if you guys go to meetotis.com, I'll give you all the information that I'm going to be talking about. I have documented somewhere and, I could give it to you. So just, if you go to meetotis.com, that's my electronic business card and everything is going to be there. All right. So the purpose of the 4 data points is, one, I know how people learn. And part of the issue that I have with the real estate education industry is either they know how people learn, but aren't willing to allocate the time and resources to facilitate that because it costs them too much to do so, or they don't know how people learn, in which case they're incompetent. So it's got to be one of those 2 things. But people don't learn, well, most. And let me speak for myself, right? People don't learn by, what up, Lou? I'm new to the channel, but I would like to get started in real estate. But what advice could you pass on to me if you don't mind? Oh, man, I got you. You in the right place, brother. You in the right place. So people don't learn by reading a document and then going and trying to do it when it comes to real estate. Now, you may learn maybe science that way or math or history that way. But real estate investing is different because there's so many different variables, and we're going to get into entrepreneurship, general entrepreneurship too. There's so many different variables that you have to take into consideration, and all of these can change for a particular transaction. Now, for somebody like me that invests all over the country, things are going to be different. Labor costs are going to be different. Zoning is different. State tax, costs, permitting costs, and all the other things associated with real estate is different county to county, state to state, city to city. So there is no one size fits all. There is no one strategy that works 100% of the time. And so if you guys are wondering if you've ever taken a course and then wondering why you're out there and you're not effective, it's because you need to know all of the strategies, and somebody selling a course on a specific strategy is usually not going to give you the dark side of that course, right? For example, and just because I mention these courses and strategies doesn't mean they're bad investments. They just have to be approached correctly. So I'm not throwing shade on anybody that has a course. I think courses can be very informative. I'm just managing everybody's expectations. But I'll give you an example. Tax deeds is a really good example. I know some people making some good money in tax deeds. I know people that teach tax deeds. But when my students come to me and they want to learn tax deeds, because I teach that, Fernando, my course includes everything. So I don't have a course, it's mentorship. So we do the basic, the fundamentals, the first 7 or 8 weeks. And then we have a professional relationship and I guide you through any type of real estate investing that suits your current situation. So there is no, one of the rules that we have is once you join our real estate family, I don't care what it is in real estate, forever, you should never have to go out and try to learn anything because you're already in, and it's my job to make sure you know everything. Now, whether you utilize everything right off the bat is a different story. But if I see the environment changing and I feel like my students can benefit from new information, then I'll do one of two things. I will call one of our Monday roundups, which is every Monday we just get together and I just give them support wherever they want it. If I need to introduce a new lesson, I'll go ahead and do that. If I feel it's important enough and it's going to impact people long term, I will create a lesson, add it to the curriculum, and everybody that's taken any of my classes ever in our real estate family can always come back and take more. So the continuing education is free. And one of the things that you'll notice is our driving force is turning people into real estate investors and not the income from doing it, which is why sometimes they go in opposite directions. We make business decisions that don't improve the income that we make because the goal is to turn people into real estate investors, get them seasoned, keep them in the community. And then later on down the line, I may put a project together and I've got 10, 15 seasoned investors that know, like, and trust me. We've had a pre-existing relationship for a couple of years and we just go do some cool stuff. So yeah, to answer your question, I teach everything because I think it's important. Now, the example that I was talking about with tax deeds and why when you take a particular, and tax deeds is just the most common one, folks. I'm not picking on tax deeds. I think, again, I'll say it again, people can make good money if they know how to approach it. So when my students come to me and they say, hey, I bought this tax deed, the first thing I say is, well, you should have talked to me first. And did you run the 4 data points on the tax deed? What are the 4 data points? It's 4 questions that we ask to determine whether or not we want to move forward putting an offer in on a property. Those 4 questions are, what does it cost or what am I willing to pay? What does it cost to fix up? What's it going to be worth when I'm done? How much income can it generate? If you have not asked and answered those 4 questions, you shouldn't move forward at all, period. You just should not, because you are not ready. Because the answers to those questions are going to tell you a bunch of different things. For example, I had somebody get a tax deed for $1,000. They were super excited. They were like, look, man, I just got a house for $1,000. Now, I already know enough not to get excited, right? Because there's always a catch. For example, let me share this perspective. There are a lot of savvy institutional investors that are very well capitalized. They know all the tax deeds and they know all the tax deeds. They have access to any tax deed sale in the country, just like I do and just like you guys do. Why don't they just go in and buy them all up? There's a reason for that. Well, the reason is, and now they're prevented from doing it in certain areas because of statute, but in a majority of the areas, they can work around that. They can just buy them. Let me tell you what happens when you buy a house for $1,000. One, you can't get financing for it. The house probably needs work, and no lender is going to give you $70,000 for a rehab on a house you paid $1,000 for. The problem is they don't put that on their website, right? There's something called asymmetrical risk reward. When underwriters throw that at you, what that means is we're not going to risk a lot just to gain a little, and you shouldn't either. All right. Now, you got that $1,000 house. You are the owner. Many times with these tax deeds, there's already a tenant in there. This student was very excited because it was already cash flowing. Now, it wasn't cash flowing very much, but it was cash flowing about $500 a month. So in this student's eyes, I just bought a house for $1,000 a month and it's cash flowing all right, I just bought a house for $1,000 and it's cash flowing $500 a month. I said, okay, now let's look at it. So I said, they called me. So I said, let's jump on Zoom real quick. So I pulled up the address and we ran the 4 data points on it. What does it cost? $1,000. What does it cost to fix up? Well, we don't know exactly, but we can make some observations and see what we're going to have to consider fixing. Well, it looks like the roof is old. That's probably going to have to be addressed. Looks like the windows need to be replaced. It needs exterior paint. It needs some significant landscaping. And we just went down the line. So I estimated anywhere between $50,000 and $70,000. Now, I don't know labor costs in this particular area. So, I gave them a range. So this is the information we have so far. Again, this is the person that just bought the $1,000 house tax deed. They paid $1,000 for it, and it's going to cost them between $50,000 and $70,000 to fix it up. Let's go ahead and be super conservative. right? Super conservative. Let's say it's going to cost $50,000. That's 2 data points. Data point number 3, what's it going to be worth when we're done? Well, it was going to be worth about $30,000. So right there, and why? Because 1 to 4 units are valued based on what similar properties are selling for. There was no development in that area. There wasn't a lot going on. Wasn't a lot of new construction. Wasn't a lot of sales going on in that area. So it was probably going to be worth about $30,000 based on the information I had access to. So what we know now, I'm not even at data point number 4 yet. What we know now is you paid $1,000 for a house that needs $50,000 worth of work. That's going to be worth $30,000 by the time you finish it. That tells you can't get financing for the rehab, right? Even if you're going to live in the property, you're not going to be able to get financing for that because the financing is based on the value of the home and you are over improving the property. Now you can go borrow the financing from a consumer lending site like lendingclub.com or Best Egg, one of those, but they don't do mortgages. So you're going to have to pay that back in about 5 years. So that's going to run you, depending on the terms, anywhere from $900 to $1,200. And they'll only give you $40,000. Best Egg, I think, will give you like $50,000 if you got great credit. Okay. So now, because you can't get financing for the house and the financing that you can get is going to be so expensive, it's going to cash flow negatively. Now you're stuck. But it gets worse. You are now a landlord. You are now responsible for making that property habitable. And if they complain, they can take you to court. And if you don't maintain that property because you got a tenant in there, then guess what? They don't have to pay rent. And you can spend as long as you want fighting that. Folks, I was overseeing 14,000 tenants at one time. I've seen everything. I've been to court 37 times and never lost. I gave in one time because I felt bad for the family. All right. So they don't, when you're learning how to buy tax deeds, they don't tell you that. They don't show you all of that. But like I said, it gets worse. Now that you're responsible for keeping the property habitable, you have a legal obligation to keep it habitable. Now you're in trouble. Because if you don't have the money to get it to where it needs to be habitable, then that's liability on your part. But let's say you don't have a tenant and you're not responsible for keeping it habitable. You still got to pay taxes on it and you're still responsible. I need to go on Do Not Disturb or something. You're still responsible for, let me turn this off. You're still responsible for all the code enforcement violations. Now, what does that mean? That means if there's any, just like it sounds, violations, code enforcement can come and fine you. And if you ignore them, they can fine you up to a certain amount per day. So most people end up just having to let the property go, right? Now, hopefully your legal structure, it wasn't in your personal name because then it just gets way worse, right? But my point is that person that took that, whatever tax deed education they had, mind you, they weren't my student at the time. They joined after they had already did this tax deed research. The course that they took for the tax deed didn't share all the negatives because why would they? Their only obligation is to teach you how to move forward in the tax deed space. But if that's how they're generating income, why would they spend all the time telling you why it ain't gonna work? So my philosophy is you need to teach people every strategy and let them use the appropriate strategy at the time. And when you teach that strategy, you need to teach them why and when it won't work. If you are actually mentoring people. See, I don't have a dog. Go ahead, creator. What's up, brother?
Hey, Otis. Well, you know it. Okay, so it's like that, especially in any space. Especially you selling anything, you don't want negative. You don't want the word no, right? You don't want to hear no, or the customer don't want to hear no. So you don't say no. You don't say anything negative or anything that's going to drive a client or potential client away from closing, right? Closing on whatever deal. And usually in a closing, there are a lot of hands in the pot, right? Depending on this closing. So absolutely, you don't want to tell them, well, if you get this house for $1,000, it's really going to cost you $100,000 to get it together. And before you even get started, probably 10 to 20 of that is in permits and things of that nature. And that's the way for the city or the county to stroke your pockets. before you even get started. So
Yeah.
you may have been fined and didn't realize it. Trees and trash and rubbish that you didn't put there, but you
Yes.
got to pay for it now, right? It's on that. It's all attached, and they can
Yes.
come in later. So
Yes.
see them soon after you grabbed it, they'll come in later and say, "Oh, you need to cut this grass. Oh, you need to fix this house that's been, or the roof that's been caved in for 10 years. You got to fix this, and you got to do it by next month, or we're going to fine you money." So now you get caught up in those situations. However, those are not bad things. Those are what we call challenges. If
Yes.
I'm in this space, we in this space is what we do. These are challenges. I like what Otis said. Hey, I'm going to let you know the good. I'm going to let you know what the challenges are. And if you're not prepared for the certain challenge, it don't matter what you in, whether you in deed space or real estate or just life. If
Yeah.
you're not prepared for the challenge, stay on the porch.
Amen. Amen. And I, I teach, so I don't have the luxury of doing that. I don't have the luxury of glorifying one particular thing and not sharing the dark side. Other organizations do, because once you start it and once you end the program, you're done. There is no, they've fulfilled their obligation, because they are businesses. Businesses exist to generate income. 4 Data Points Academy does not exist. What didn't exist to generate income. The 4 Data Points Academy was built out of necessity. I'm a real estate investor first. I just have a lot of experience training people. I was training managers how to run developments valued in the 300 and 400 millions of dollars. So I have a training background, and I did it out of necessity. So when somebody pays me, it's not, hey, I'm going to pay you for your course. I don't even like to use that word course. I don't do courses. Do I have a course? Yes. Is it available to the general public? No, because I use it as a learning tool for people that are already in my real estate family, right? All our classes are taught live in perpetuity. Now the course is if you just want practice on your own, but I'm not charging for that. And I feel strongly about that, so much so that I actually spent $18,000 to put a course together that's fully automated. I don't have to touch it. It's just a revenue stream. But it wasn't sitting well with me, because the money was cool, but it wasn't sitting well in my spirit, because I know that no one's going to be an effective or a seasoned real estate investor based off that. And the people, they were telling me, you're not, it's a course. You're not supposed to. They're just doing it for the information and all that stuff. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not big on information by itself without context and without the practical application. And the course was only a few $100, but I ended up having them shut it down, because what if I just picture a single mom that has to choose between, Christmas for the kids and buying this course so she can improve her quality of life. And a responsible mom would probably buy the course, right? Or single dad, whoever it is. And if it's not effective and it's not enough to actually change their quality of life, then that's the part that didn't sit well with me. So I said, you know what? Trash the course, right? They didn't want to, but I told them, trash. I don't publicize it. I never really advertise it that much anyway. So now on our new platform, I have a course built in for my students just in case they want to practice, take some tests, go over all the different lessons at 2 a.m, whatever. But I don't charge for it, and it's not for the general public, because there's not enough organizations that are interested in creating real estate investors. They are interested in the bottom line. And sometimes you have to sacrifice some money to be able to make sure somebody gets to the next level. And some of you guys heard about the story. We had the young lady that was one of my students. She had just joined. She was dealing with a lot, and she wasn't really grasping certain things because, she was dealing with the stress of life and all these things. And I've been doing this long enough. So when we're on our calls, our Zoom calls, our Zoom sessions where I'm teaching, I teach most of the classes. I can look in your face and see if your camera is on, I can look in your face and see if you're getting the information or not. So many times I'll pivot the way I'm teaching, because I also know when somebody wants to ask a question, they're just too embarrassed to, right? So most of the time during these teaching, I'll teach it a certain way, and then I'll simplify it, and then I'll teach it again a different way, and then I'll simplify it and then teach it again a different way. And then I'll start asking kind of basic questions to see where people are at. This one woman her spirit was just so broken, man. And I recognized it because I'd been there before. I'd been there before where my spirit was actually broken. I'd lost everything. I had filed for bankruptcy. I had to go live back in my parents' house. All my houses got foreclosed on. My Car got repossessed. I had to go apply for food stamps because I was still trying to support a family. I went to go work at a newspaper plant for $10 an hour. This is like almost 2 decades ago. And, it was just bad thing after. The saving grace was I had gotten into ministry at that point, and it just changed my perspective on things. So it didn't, but up to that point, while I was developing into that, I recognized like how somebody's spirit could be broken. Now she lived across the country. So I pulled her aside, well, not actually, right? It's virtual. I had a conversation with her and said, hey, I'm going to come see you. I'm going to come to you, and we are going to sit down, and we're going to go over all, because this was like week 6 or 7 already. We're going to go over all of these principles, right? So I jumped on a plane, flew halfway across the country. We met at a public place, right, where there was Wi-Fi, and we spent 5 hours going over everything. And then we went out to look at some of the properties that we were going over in some of our scenarios, right? Some similar properties. When I tell you that it changed her entire way of being, she's out there killing it now. It changed her entire way of being with respect to being a real estate investor. That it's probably the one thing that's brought me the most fulfillment in our entire program. Now, this was back early. So she paid $3,000 to be in our real estate family. My flight out there was $1,100. My hotel was $800 because how your boy ain't staying at the Howard Johnson. And, and then after, and I was only there for probably 1, maybe 2 nights. It may have even just been 1 night. And then, I went out to see, the town and do the tours stuff. So I was in probably when it was all said and done, I was probably in about $3,000. Now, $3,000 is my phone breaking up, y'all? Put a 1 in the chat if my phone's breaking up on Clubhouse. Put a 2 in the chat if you can hear me all right on Clubhouse. Because I got okay, 1's breaking up. All right, so okay, I got y'all. All right, slow down. All right, so let me fix that real quick. Let me see, sit tight. All right, so we gonna unpair that, and then let's do this. Let's bring that back up. And let's go back. Roadcaster Pro. Let's forget that device. Y'all bear with me. I got to make it clear for everybody. So it's all good. All right. So, and I know Clubhouse can still hear me. They just can't hear me on my microphone. So basically, I said all that to say that it cost me more to do that one act than she paid to be in our program. And now, she's killing the game, right? That's so by most metrics, that's a poor business decision. All right. Put it 2. Okay, much better. All right, thank you, Remy. What's up, brother? Hey, Remy, get up here on this. Oh, there you are. What's up, brother?
What's up, family? Hey, I want to say this, man. Y'all don't listen to nothing this man is talking about. This dude is a scammer. He is a fraud. Let me tell you how much of a scam and a fraud this is, man. This man helped me get a $3 million bidding under contract. This man called me government contractor. How dare you? How dare you, man? This man is so fraud. He had me go to a hearing about how to properly get properties under the right requirements and regulations, so that way we can continue to operate and get this money.
Hey,
okay,
man.
What's up with it?
Hey, man. Hey, shout out to Remy, man. Hey, I really appreciate that. Look, I had so Remy's in our real estate family too, and I had to file some paperwork down at, where was it, the clerk's office or the building department or something. So Remy was
I think it was it was the clerk's office. He was like, yeah, man, just drop this paperwork off for me, man. You in the neighborhood, you're not far. I was like, yeah, man, I'm 20 minutes away. Man, they was having a whole hearing about these properties. I was like, oh. And so the guy's like, oh, he's in a hearing right now. So I said, okay, well, I'm just going to drop him off. And they were like, no, you got to go in there. So I'm like, before the whole council, I'm like, oh, man. So I had to call Otis.
Have me on FaceTime.
On FaceTime. So I'm literally holding my phone in front of the whole. What was it? What was it? I think it was code enforcement.
It was
It was a whole code enforcement.
yeah, it was code enforcement. It was a code enforcement, and
yeah, I was like, oh, this got me looking crazy right now. No, it was all good, man. But that's a part of the game, right?
yes.
So they want to know what the properties that you purchase, and they want to know the plans. And so basically, Otis had all the plans out, and I was just basically dropping it off at the office. But it was just an opportunity to let them know what the long-term goal was, as it was still in the processes of being evaluated and analyzed with other contractors for building. Yeah, man. So I appreciate that. Oh, man, that was a learning experience.
Yes.
That was a learning experience, man.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you, man, that building is still available, bro. That building is still available right now. And I think the VA, they want it, man. I think the VA, they really are getting very serious. An organization called the American GI Forum, they lost a lot of funding.
Yeah,
they lost a lot of funding, man. They took, I think, yeah, man. As you know, right? All this cutting going on. So another third-party agency popped up called the MVEC, which stands for Military Empowerment Commission.
Yeah.
And so they inherited all those grants, man. So now they're going to more of these private sector agencies that are getting a lot of this funding, and they want the building, bro. So
well, give me a call. Give me a call later today, because we have to put that in a way that obligates them, because everybody wants it, but when it's time to write the check, suddenly, I got to see. Right. I got to see. I got to talk to so and so. So we can go ahead and update that contract and that paperwork to make everybody warm and fuzzy.
Yeah.
And then we can revisit it again. But we got to talk to the potential buyer first, because we don't want to get in a situation where the current owners of the building, we're just blowing smoke, right? So, hey, man, that'll work, man.
I got one more for you too, bro. So another thing I wanted to tell you is, have you been hearing about a lot of these builders, the DR Hortons, the LGIs, the Perry Homes? They've been putting homes rent to own. They've been putting out signs like wholesalers about rent to own. I just recently had a meeting with the president for Central Texas, and they were basically talking about dudes that nobody actually purchasing. They're creating these programs now where you can actually do rent to own homes, and they're looking for basically renters, man. They're looking to do leasing agreements.
Yeah,
so it's an easier way to get in.
Yeah,
have you heard about that? Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, what they're doing is they're just doing lease options. That's it. They're doing lease options.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah,
it's a way to entice you to come in and pay for something that you otherwise wouldn't. So the selling point is great, brand new neighborhood, new build, right? New neighborhood, and probably the biggest is schools, because some parents don't mind paying for schooling. So if I'm gonna pay, whatever I'm gonna pay in schooling, right, is comparable to what I'm paying in rent and mortgage. Well, look, you can have this home in this nice area where your kids can go to school properly. You got good new shopping, good new neighborhood. Well, you know what? Why don't we just pay, instead of paying $3,000 a month for, or $1,500 for schooling and another $1,500 for your rent or whatnot, whatever the prices are, why don't we just pay $3,000 for this house, right? Yeah. Why don't we just pay $3,000 a month? That way we get the benefits of this new area that's up and coming, and gives you time to get your credit together, right? If you truly want to purchase it, and if not, boy, it's the food in the window. But they actually getting them built, Otis. They actually have
they getting them built.
Getting them built based off of rent to buy. Like, it's crazy. They say, I'll rent this property for however many times, and they are actually going to build that property from the ground up. But
from the ground up. Yeah.
I said, that is I said, bro, hold on. He said, yeah, we got it all how we want it. And I said, but hold on. Like, you keep saying it like we paying rent, and I keep saying, no, sir, mortgage. You're paying a mortgage. Like, I never heard where you rent and they ready to build you a house. He's like, nah, they're going to give us time. I said, what? And then when I seen the house, oh, man, it was nice. It was immaculate. But I'm not ready to pay no $3,000 a month, bro.
Well, hold on. So let me hold on, guys. Hold on, Remy. Hold on, Greater, 1 second. So anytime somebody introduces something like that, you have to be seasoned enough to understand, okay, what's the catch? You can rent a house. You could rent a house anywhere, right? But you also have to understand what a lease option is, and you have to understand how to read the language on a contract. Okay. Now, if the selling point is, hey, just go ahead and rent now, And then you can, by the time you go ahead and get your stuff together, you can just go ahead and get financing and buy the house, right? Exercise your option. But what if you can't? What if your credit standing 2 years from now is the same as it is today? And also, what other fees are involved? What's the option fee, right? Are they increasing the market rent? And is any of that increase going towards the purchase? What's going to be the purchase price when you choose to exercise the option? And what language in the option agreement tells you how that price, how we come up with that price, how that's going to be negotiated? So there is always a catch. Ultimately, the powers that be want to turn this nation into a nation of renters, right? So they can control everything. So, I think it's a good program for somebody, but you just have to understand, what it actually is, because rent to own is very, very, it could be misleading to somebody that's not well versed in the real estate space. But, it's a buyer beware, right? Buyer beware. And
it's a slippery slope. It's definitely a slippery slope. I was only talking about it from the perspective of like housing, right? With my programs, when I'm doing the program-based housing, I'm like, there's no excuse if you actually want to get a property. Because, dude, literally, the criteria the guy said is this. He said, all you got to have is a 550 credit score. And then he said, all we ask for is first month's rent. He's like, you ain't got to worry about, all this other stuff. And I mean, obviously it sounds too good to be true, right?
Absolutely.
But he was like, if you have anything, and then he said, he asked for double the deposit if it's 550, but he said it's like a 600 or better. We just ask for first month's rent. So I was just like, as a deposit. And I'm like, wow, okay. But I'm just saying in the context of how these builders are really trying to get more creative in the context of really trying to, because these homes have been just sitting on the market, right? And instead of devaluing the home and keep lowering the prices, at this point, they're just trying to get it filled. But yes, please do your due diligence, read your fine print. And y'all were just playing. My brother Otis is not a scam artist. I just thought I'd troll a little early.
Nah, we recognize good game. When you in here,
that's my guy, man. That's my guy. That's my guy.
Always.
That's my guy. All day, every day.
He always say, "Do you do?" Hey, you do what you do. But look, Otis, we done went from right. You could go buy you a home, right? You can spend that money, purchase you a home, because it is still $1,000. Right. And then you do increase the value, and it's only going to increase in value. But then you got the other one where, okay, I can't afford to purchase the home and get it fixed up. Right. Here's one that's already ready for you to go. Either way, guess who get paid?
The city.
We always call it the middleman, Dan, because we don't make the lumber.
Yeah.
So somebody got to provide you with the lumber, with the PEX plumbing, with the fitting, right, with the actual screws to put into fasten said lumber, right?
Yes.
The roofing material, all the materials that it's going to take to build the home. Or, hey, we can take those same materials they already built. It's already fresh, brand new for you, right? You just got to make a choice on, do you want to pay whatever that deal is, right? Whatever they set out there on the table,
yes.
Are you willing to pay that? Or the next option is what I do is we just buy our own shit and build it, and we take our own hands and we pay ourselves to build the properties and the things that we want. We
Yes.
take the properties that are there, and if they can be repurposed, like some people don't want garages nowadays. I don't need a garage. I got 4 kids. I need living space. So we'll turn that garage into now a living space, right, for one of your bigger kids, right? Turn the basement into a living space. As long as it's got an egress window, a way to get out, way to get in case of a fire, right? Then you can turn that into a living space. So, real estate is changing. And even our current homeowners, right, that want to leave and go get that brand new house have to reevaluate what they really want to do now. It's probably pushing more for you to stay at that house that you have and improve on it. You got all that land. You can go front, back, side to side. I don't know who made the rules that you don't want to do that in certain areas. You got to leave and make your dreams come true.
Yeah.
So,
well,
the real estate market is going in a different way, and I love it.
Amen. I'll say this. They're 2 completely different worlds. So somebody that is buying a house for them to live in, that's a completely different world than somebody that is buying real estate as a real estate investor. We typically don't use the same financing. There is some overlap. And when we look at what Remy was talking about, D.R. Horton was doing, as a real estate investor, you just know what information to check to make sure you're not obligated into something that you can't get out of. And when you're looking at really anything, it's not just what D.R. Horton And I haven't, folks. I'm just going off of what Remy said. I haven't actually looked at what DR Horton is doing, but based on what Remy said, that's not the only scenario that people are looking at. There's also people that want to invest in real estate, but they want to invest passively. So they want to invest in some of these syndication projects. Well, if you're not a seasoned real estate investor, you don't know whether or not these projects are going to pencil out. So you're having to trust the opinions and biases of the people that are running that project. So if the project goes bad, you have no way of knowing if it was something outside of their control or whether they were just mismanaging the project, right? I see a lot of projects that, so I saw one. There was a gentleman that created a fund for a lot of people, right? I'm not going to say the name of the gentleman or the name of the fund. This has already happened. This is very, very public. And one of the first assets that the fund purchased was the building that this gentleman had his office in. And they were doing some, community stuff and having kids come in and learn some stuff. And so it wasn't, it wasn't like a horrible thing to do. But when investors are investing, that's a poor financial decision because the first asset they bought wasn't generating any income. And the funds from these inexperienced investors were utilized for that. So there was a lot of mismanagement, right? Because these investors are inexperienced. I don't allow anybody to invest with me that I haven't trained, right? I don't allow the general public. I don't care how much money you throw at me. I won't do it. And people ask all the time. We have a program where we just made it available for the general public, and we only take 2 people from the general public, and they got to go through our curriculum. They got to be a part of our real estate family to do it. We have a program where we find the deal for you.
Because you want to make sure that they succeed. I don't want no problem.
Well, yeah, and I have to get so involved in it, and I always have to be aware of optics, right? And people know that optics are really, really big for me. So just because something is legal doesn't mean it's a good look. So there are a lot of ways to make income that are legal, but I don't think but if it conflicts with my brand, the 4 Data Points Academy and what we're about, and that name Otis James, then I won't do it, right? And I'm also not forced to do it because I roll back my real estate investing back into our program, right? And we're very transparent about what it is. What other program can you pay $6,000 and you got support for life or as long as that program exists? None. Why? Because it's not profitable for the program. And in many cases, it could cost the program more money long-term, period. But what am I banking on? And this is what I tried to tell my critics who are, business consultants and, some other folks. This is what I tell them. I can turn somebody into a real estate investor, and I'm so sure that I'm willing to foot the bill if it costs me more long-term over time. My dad always told me, always bet on yourself and your own abilities. I can do that, right? $6,000 to $15,000. If you want to be a real estate investor and $6,000 is too much for you, you shouldn't be a real estate investor. Because by the time you get to an apartment building, you'll pay $6,000 for a building inspection and then still not buy the building, right? Now, we teach you all the stuff, but I'm very transparent. I put that on the website. Everything, the brochure, everything, right? And then when we schedule calls, people already know what it is. And the people that don't see the value, I don't want joining our program anyway, right? You guys ever been I always use this example. You guys ever been in a relationship with somebody and you got to keep telling them how much your value is? You know what I'm saying? The relationship is over, spoiler alert. So there's certain things that in the real estate investing space and just real estate investing that are legal, but if you don't know how to assess them, and I gave you guys the tool, 4 data points. If you can't answer 4 questions about wherever you're investing, whether it's passive, whether you're doing it on your own, then you shouldn't be doing it. And the 4 questions are, what does it cost? What is the cost to fix up? What's it going to be worth when I'm done? How much income can it generate? If you want the guide to be able to assess those 4 questions, reach out to me. I've been giving it away for free for 4 years. Matter of fact, I just updated it last year, right? So even if you got the old one, I got a new one, right? I do it for that, and I have one for multifamily commercial. But it's for people that are seriously looking to get into real estate investing, because even if it's not with me, with that, I know they're not going to get into something that they can't get out of. Amen. All right. So I got time.
Oh, I got a testimonial real quick.
Go ahead, sir.
Quick testimonial real quick.
Yes,
I just want to say this. This man's program is so phenomenal. Let me tell you how real it is. So just recently, we closed on the property. It was a $14,000 transaction opportunity for me. It was directly with the VA organization that was willing to do placement services. So they pardoned me in to be a housing placement guy. But we was able to close and where this property owner was looking to do a lease to own. So I appreciate you, man, for all the training materials and the rooms and the lives and the things of that nature, because I definitely felt like I wouldn't have not been able to get that transaction going if it wasn't for your knowledge and just for your wisdom and your mentorship. So I just want to shout you out, man. I literally got a $14,000 check literally just last Friday. You know what I'm saying? So the wifey was happy. You hear me? So the work is labor not in vain, man. Thank you.
Wait,
yes,
you said
yes, sir.
Wait. How come it's been we all the way up at this time? Now when that check came, it's me.
I know, yeah. It was we, yeah. So, she was happy about that, man. So, I just want to say shout you out. And I think out of that 14,000, I saw about 2,500. But you know how I go there. I just paid off my credit card, and then she went to go do her thing. Took care of the baby. But we good, man. We in there, baby. Mama, we made it. So I just want to say shout you out, bro. Thank you so much.
Hey, man, ain't nothing like hitting a win and your woman see it. You know what I'm saying? Because I know I done this, bro. Where we
do different,
all
don't
the time, and it don't look like it's always a win. But it's timing is something always. You get to closing, and they may start floundering, or the closing had to take a little longer, or it's always something. But it's always something to see for your woman and your family to see when you like, hey, we invested in this, and it wasn't us. It's always gonna be you until you get that first, get them wins in. Now when you get them wins in, they gonna listen to everything you say, bro. Hey, did you say you was in the real? What you doing over? But before that, no one would invest in you. They didn't believe it. They didn't want to hear it, talk about it. Boy, when that check come in and you start living differently, right? You start moving differently because you don't work. You work for yourself, right? You living off of your fat of the land, if you will, living off of your efforts, right? This is something that you came up with out of your brain, and it worked.
Yes.
I love it. I do, man.
Yes.
I love them tell me, oh, man, they don't work. I'm 100 in that won't work.
Yeah.
I'm already way past that. We see things that they don't see. That's why we in this industry. We know the numbers. You already them figured in your head. And even sometimes the numbers don't seem right.
Yeah.
But it's like, dang, something telling me to move forward. I don't know why. And then the numbers may seem right, and something says, no, don't do that. Don't do it. And usually, if you season in this, you'll follow those earmarks, if you will, right? Those whispers in your ear, and you'll be successful in this game. It's ever changing, it's ever evolving. Don't never stay comfortable. What you thought you knew, if you realize you don't know anything, stick with the formula that works. I know it's a lot. That's what I think Otis is more so talking about. All I can do is arm you with enough, and that's engineering. We're just trying to arm you with enough knowledge so whatever challenge comes your way, you prepared to meet it.
Amen.
That's all you can do, right? I can just arm you enough, even with our kids. All I can do is arm you enough so when you come up against whatever it is you're going to come up against, you are well prepared. If we friends, right? I'm going to give you I want you to win. I want to see you win because it makes me happy. You know what I'm saying? We came up with this. I helped you, and you actually, it won. That's all that I think anybody that's a teacher or a mentor or want to give education or educate people, that's all we want. I want to see you truly take this information because it works for anybody. Take this information and succeed. Shoot to the moon with it. And when you do shoot to the moon with it, that's affirmation to us. Hey, you know what? It didn't just work for me. It worked for somebody else and their family. I'm going to leave with this. When I always say, if everybody talk about money, and I say, we can't even talk about money. We got to talk about revenue generation, right? Because when you sell a house, look how many people eat off of that continually. Not just now. When you rehab or whatever you do as an investor to a property or any situation, you are feeding people, right? You feed not just the system, this ecosystem of money, but you feeding actual people. Without the investor, the people that has the vision and the fortitude to move forward, there would be no money ecosystem. Everybody would harbor their bread and be scared to put it out there to see, if it's going to make us more than it's just sitting up under our mattresses. So
Yes.
kudos to entrepreneurs and investors.
Amen. And we're gonna switch it over to the entrepreneurial side in a second. But it starts with making database decisions, right? So if you have a decision that you need to make in the real estate investing space, you need to be able to have enough data to support that decision. If you don't, it's going to cost you something, right? And there is an emotional component to real estate investing, especially if you're new. I posed a question to some folks in our real estate family on one of our Monday roundups. I said, hey, you tell me who's more successful. There's two people, we'll call them John and I don't know, Christina. I forgot what names I use, right? John joined our real estate family. He had his deal within 30 days. Christina joined our real estate family. She ain't found a deal in 9 months. Every time she runs the 4 data points on one of these properties, it doesn't pencil out, right? Now, who's more successful? And I wanted to see how they responded because I knew that I could see people getting discouraged because they haven't found their first deal yet. So I wanted to see how they responded. And most people said the first guy, the dude, right? Not Christina, the other guy, whose name I just forgot. So I said, why? They said, well, because he got his first deal. I said, did you guys know that getting the deal is the easy part? I know plenty of people that got a deal and had to file bankruptcy. A larger deal, right? Multifamily commercial. Right? But I think Christina is more successful because she had the aptitude to know, based on the information that she was able to gather, that those deals, everyone she looked at, was not a good deal. If I had to pick somebody to invest with, I would invest with Christina because of her ability to mitigate risk. All right, you guys, I keep getting phone calls because I got a duplex that I'm.
You good? That's exactly what I respect.
Yeah,
it goes beyond education.
right.
I need people who can make good decisions. Right? If you educate and you make poor decisions, then yeah, we can't go in the bit. I can see poor decisions before we even pull up. What are we talking about?
Amen.
What's the conversation? What are you doing now?
Amen.
I mean, I'm looking. Amen. And then to fight, if we kicking it right, we buddies. And both of us are entrepreneurs, right, of some sort. And we can come together and spend thousands of dollars on entertainment, but we can't come together and spend $1 to make it 3. Change your friends.
Yeah, so that's actually a good point. So now we're gonna shift over into entrepreneurship because real estate investing, when you know how to do it, it's just a tool. And I hear people say to me all the time, they're like, man, I love how you teach it. You're so passionate about it. I'm not passionate about real estate investing. I've just been doing it all my life. So for me, it's just like a Tuesday. Matter of fact, I didn't even know the demand to learn how to invest in real estate was what it was until, 4 or 5 years ago, right? So my goal is for people to be in a position where they don't have to be anywhere or deal with anyone at any time unless they absolutely want to. They have true freedom. You can call it financial freedom. You can call it whatever you want, financial independence. But that is my goal for everybody. I just happen to do it through real estate. But there is, eventually I'm going to be bringing people in to teach people how to get into the private equity space and buying and selling businesses and some of these other things, because I had a passion for that. I'm not qualified to teach that at the moment, at least not in my opinion. So I'm going to be bringing in, people that are actually doing that in real life to be able to offer that to some of our students in the future. We're getting into personal development. Some of you guys know Dr. Alfred Smith. He wrote some pretty good books that you can find on Amazon. But I've been having conversations with him in depth, putting in a curriculum that has to deal with leadership training and personal development with respect to your self-image and how that impacts all of the things that you do and the psychology behind sales. So we're going to expand into not just real estate, but different areas of entrepreneurship and personal development. So that you guys on TikTok, that meetotis.com is my electronic business card. Everything that I'm doing is on there. What's up, Clarence? I'm going to get to you in a second, brother. I want your input on this next one. Everything that I'm doing is on that link. That's my electronic business card, meetotis.com. You folks on Clubhouse, you can see that, meetotis.com. Save it to your phone. Don't be calling me breathing on the phone because some of y'all do that. And I breathe back, and then it gets real awkward because we just sitting there breathing on the phone. But that being said, Clarence, what's going on, brother?
Yo, what's up, man? How's it going?
I can't hear you, Clarence.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Oh, hold on one second. Is that my? Oh my goodness. There you go, Clarence. I didn't have that mic that sound plugged in this whole time. Y'all just been hearing.
Was it,
Go ahead, sir.
can you hear me?
I hear you now. That was on. That was my fault. Can you guys on Clubhouse hear Clarence? Put a 1 in the chat if you can hear him. Go ahead, Clarence.
Yo, what's up, man? Nah, I'm just checking in before my next meeting.
Man, tell everybody who you are.
Oh man, it's just nothing special. Just Clarence, former entrepreneur, turned VC, and yeah, just floating on TikTok today.
Amen. I didn't see some of the some of your postings, man. It's real interesting. Stick around, man, for as long as you can. We're going to talk about some entrepreneurial stuff. You're well versed in this, and you look at this stuff through a particular set of lenses because you are looking at the potential for a lot of these companies. So your insight is always much appreciated, brother.
For sure, yeah. I do this every day, all day, every day.
Amen. Amen. Now let me see. Lillian says I need to get serious to leave an inheritance for my children's children. Go ahead, Lillian. I appreciate that perspective. I have been listening to Otis James for some time now, and out of all the other rooms, he's the real deal. Well, thank you very much. That makes me feel good. I don't even participate in those rooms. I only listen to OJ, no pun intended. You know, I had to change all my letterhead when me and my dad, when that whole OJ thing went down a long time ago. It used to be our logo. I need to get serious. Okay, true. Real estate is changing. Prices are so high, it's discouraging. It's only discouraging for non-real estate investors when you're talking about home prices. And let me say, I wholesale and buy rentals in Texas. What value can I bring you? Reach out to me. Actually, reach out to me directly. Is at Jane of all trades. Amen. Reach out to me. My information is just above my head. So if you're looking, if you work a job, you're not a real estate investor, and you have a family that you're trying to support, and you're looking for a place to live, yeah, that's a really bad thing. Home prices are getting expensive, right? In a lot of different areas, everything's getting more expensive, and many salaries and incomes aren't keeping up with that, and it is unfortunate, right? And some people are going to be impacted in a very negative way from that. As a real estate investor, home prices increasing is a positive for us. Now, keep in mind, before because everybody, poor people always get mad at folks making money, right? They call them greedy and all these other things, right? So to add some context, I also allocate some of my properties for transitional housing. That means people that are, trying to get off drugs and all these other things. And I rent it out to those people through certain programs. Those rentals aren't profitable at all. It costs me much more than I'm making on 100% of those rentals because of all of the issues. But I offset those costs with profits from elsewhere, right? So it's not always about greed. But as long as property values are continuing to go up and rents are continuing to go up, then I'll always have an income source because I can participate in that. Now, if property values are going to continue to go up, and everything's getting more expensive, and rents are getting more expensive, and you still choose to do nothing, because remember, it's the capitalistic society. Once you understand what's going on, you got to make a choice. You can decide which side of the line you want to be on. And if you choose not to do anything, then you got to be mad at yourself, right? And I'm talking to the general public just how I would talk to myself. There are times where I would start complaining about something, and then I'd have to pull myself up and say, Otis, what are you doing? First of all, you better than that. Do something about it. If you don't like it, do something about it. If this group isn't treating you well, leave. If this company isn't treating you well, leave. If you don't want to be here, do something about it. If you don't have an opportunity, create one, right? Which I've gotten pretty good at doing. But let's talk about the folks because I want to shift it. Let's talk about folks that want to become entrepreneurs. You folks on TikTok, the 7 of you, thank you for sharing the room. And it's not a big deal to you, but it's a big deal to me. I appreciate the gesture. Get Jevy, realtor in Texas, started doing virtual openings. Okay, smart. Started doing virtual open houses with a 3D camera live. Great for lead gathering. Amen. There you go. It's thinking outside the box. So let's now that we're switching to the entrepreneurial side, I've got some things that anybody that wants to become an entrepreneur, I have some areas of focus, right? Now, my focus is taking people from 0 up to between 5 and 10 million. The reason why I always limit it to that is because I have not created a company that generated more than 10 million. So if you are already in the 3, 4, 5 million, dollar area as far as revenue, I'm gonna send you to somebody else. I can't do anything for you. And again, I'm very transparent about that because I don't want to teach something that I haven't done myself. I created several companies that were in the 7-figure range, and I did it with very, very little effort. As a matter of fact, in one case, I did it with such little effort it hurt me because I was spending money like a drug dealer. It wasn't good, right? And then I just ended up doing something else, 7 figures doing that other thing, and so on and so forth. So if you're between 0, let's say 5 million, then that's probably where I can get you. All right. After that, it's more of a scale up conversation. Then you got to bring in consultants, and your systems and processes and all those things have to be reconsidered so that you can scale up and so on and so forth. Now, that being said, before I get into these 8 things, these 8 areas of focus, when I first started, I'll take one of my businesses. I had to figure everything out on my own. And there were 3 businesses that hit the 7-figure range. And, I didn't really, it wasn't something that I wanted to do forever. I think the 4 Data Points Academy is the only business that I want to scale up nationally. But I had to figure all these things out on my own. That means I had to spend an enormous amount of money trying to figure out, okay, well, what's the best website? What type of automations do I need? What type of legal structure do I need? What type of sales or what type of processes do I need? How do I implement these processes? Who can draft these processes for me? What type of SOPs and all of these things that are important in running an actual business? Now, I'm not talking about being self-employed. A lot of us start off self-employed, but the goal is to have a business that runs itself that you can walk away from. Just like when I buy a multifamily commercial building, I want to buy it. I want to make it more valuable. I want to put somebody in place to manage it. I'll pull some cash out, go do it again, and that business should be self-sufficient. All right. But I didn't have all these things. And I was constantly having to consult with, this person and this company and this company and this company. And I said, ideally, if the second that I knew I wanted to start a business, what would have been a dream for me was to be able to go somewhere where there's no distractions and have every consultant that I would need to get up and running all in the same house, period. Right? So I can go back and forth with them, not just a 30-minute consult too. I'm talking about when we're talking about what systems to implement and processes for our company, I'm talking about spending 4 and 5 hours. So when I walk out of there, I actually have it. It's not just people telling me what I need to do. I want them there working with me on how to do it. So in that light, I created Venture U. Venture U is going to be a program within the 4 Data Points Academy, but it's starting out as an international business retreat. And we are going to Medellin, Colombia. And I have a villa that we're going to be in. It's 17 rooms, all the luxuries. I got a chef coming in. You don't have to worry about food because that's one less thing you have to think about. You can stay in the villa the whole time if you want to. There's a bunch of things to do there. Or you can go out with the concierge I have coming in to Medellin, Colombia. Work-life balance, right? We want to enjoy the actual city. If you don't know how to salsa dance, guess what? I got somebody coming in to teach that too. Now you don't have to participate, but by the time you leave, it's 5 days, and on the 6th day we leave. By the time you leave, you have everything that your business is going to need. And if I would have had that, I'm telling you, I would have saved hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I'm offering that for you folks. So that link at top, that meetotis.com, that brochure is on there. If you're interested, reach out to me. It will sell out. I'm already planning the one after Medellin. All right. So if you're a business owner, or you want to be, or you have an idea and you don't know where to start, and you want to get it off the ground, download the brochure and see if it interests you. Amen. Amen. All right. Where were we? You ever get tired of hearing yourself talk? I do. though I do love the sound of my voice. Right? Put a 2 in the chat if you love the sound of my voice. Don't do that. Don't do it. I'm messing with y'all. All right. So let's talk about the blueprint. Let's talk about the entrepreneurial stuff. 8 areas of focus. You guys are more than welcome to come up on stage. You're more than welcome to ask questions. And I'm not going to end today. Let me see. It's 10:25. We'll go about 25 minutes. And I've went over this before. And this is something that even in the real estate space, if you are going to have a real estate company that you can walk away from, these 8 things apply to you in some way, shape, or form. Excuse me. And I teach people how to do all of these things in any area where I feel I'm not an expert, then I hire one or I bring one in. Now I have relationships with experts in these areas. So I don't officially have to hire them, but they're there for you, right? And one of the first things that people often neglect is identifying who they serve and what they truly need. Why are you getting into business for that one particular thing? Well, it's easy in real estate. People need housing. Period. Well, real estate education, people need to know how to invest, especially if they're in danger of getting displaced. Gentrification is going to happen either way. It's just a matter of who participates in it. All right, Clarence, I appreciate you, brother. It's just a matter of who participates in it. So there's the demand. That's who I'm serving. Period. Who are you serving? What urgent problem are you solving? Are you solving a problem at all? If you like making ceramic bunny rabbits, then that's a completely different situation, right? You're not really solving a problem. Maybe that's a passion. Maybe that's a hobby. Then you really need some guidance, right? All right. Next thing is, now I want to go back to what urgent problem are you solving? So every successful business solves a real pressing problem. So once you define the pain point, you address it clearly so your customers immediately recognize you as a solution. What is the pain point for real estate investing? Well, one, it's too expensive to learn. The 2 organizations that would consider themselves my competitors, for the level of support to match mine, they charge you $25,000 a year. That's the lower one. Then the other organization charges you $35,000 a year annually. And I've talked to some of the heads of those organizations, and there's certain strategies that they weren't even familiar with. They specialize in multifamily commercial. All right. And they've never spent a single day on the operations side. They specialize in acquisition. So at $25,000 a year and $35,000 a year, that's not attainable for the average person. And I wanted to do something that was. And I had to do it in a way where I can bring in a group of people and train them for the same work and the same trouble that it takes me to train one person. So I had to come up with systems in place to be able to do that. But that's the urgent problem. That's the problem I was solving. I teach people how to structure deals creatively for those people that are in disenfranchised communities that don't have the resources to put all these deposits down and all that stuff. Because that is an urgent problem in my eyes. All right. What's your offer? What are you selling? Period. Sounds like a simple question. What are you selling? What am I selling exactly? Clarity is what sells. So define your product or service so precisely that a potential customer instantly understands what it is, what it does, and why it matters. I'm a real estate investor. I teach people the different strategies in real estate investing. I take people from zero knowledge all the way up. I call it the promised land, right? The point is they stay with me until they decide that they no longer need to be. So it's unlimited support. I teach people how to invest in real estate with unlimited support. Unlimited, unlimited, unlimited. Okay? All right. If you can't clearly explain what you sell and why you're the best choice, neither can your customers. Simplicity and confidence wins sales. It's easy for me because no one else does what we do. Period. No one else does what we do. All right. Do you have a sales system? Thanks again, Clarence. Do you have a sales system? What is a sales system? How do I turn interest into paying customers? How do I turn interest into paying customers? All right. Curiosity isn't enough. You need to be clear. You need a clear, confident path that moves people from interested to ready to buy. Your job is to guide them, not to leave them guessing. Again, clarity is important. What's your step-by-step sales flow? Do you have a sales process? There was a young lady who actually called because she wanted mentorship. And I don't take all of these calls, but if I'm sitting at my desk, I'll try to pick up and take calls. James, who takes a lot of these calls in our organization, he don't like me taking these calls because he's like, man, you spend too much time on these calls. Because I built this thing from the ground up. I'm passionate about it. I could talk about it for a very, very long time. I think sometimes I get in the way of the process. But how do I turn interest into paying customers? I try to be as clear as possible. What's my step-by-step sales flow? Well, this is kind of a sales flow right here, right? Marketing and all these other things. Now we have some other things that we do, but I had to put a lot of time and energy into coming up with a sales process and defining a sales flow so that I know what automations to have, right? I can't do everything all the time. And because I keep our prices down by actively investing in real estate, if the real estate investing isn't performing, then I'm allocating time and resources to an entity that's not generating any continuous revenue. So I had to have a sales system in place, and I had to bring in consultants because my one downfall is I think I know every damn thing, but I'm smart enough to know that I don't. All right. What else? Do you have a marketing strategy? How are you marketing? Where is your ideal customer? Where do they spend time? And how do you consistently reach them? So your marketing needs need to meet people where they already are, not where you wish they were. So find out what platforms, communities, and spaces your ideal customer trusts and frequents. So how do I consistently reach them? Consistency builds familiarity, right? Some people call that branding. And familiarity builds trust. So create a simple, this is the key, repeatable system to stay in front of your audience so that your first name, you're the first name they think of when they're ready to buy. If you're talking about real estate investing mentors, I better be the first name that people think of. And I get offended if I'm not. Now, there's some good ones out there. I'm sure there's some good ones out there. But all of the stuff that I sacrifice to make sure that somebody actually becomes a real estate investor, that's not profitable. So why would anybody else do that? Amen? How do I consistently reach them? That is a key point. Another key point, visibility isn't about being everywhere. It's about being in the right places consistently. Focus beats noise every time. Do you know how many people I've counseled on the business side that have, it's usually young ladies that have the, 250,000 followers and they wonder why they can't pay their rent this month? You got all them eyes on you and you can't make a dollar? Now, I'm not talking about OnlyFans or nothing like that, right? But I've had people approach me wanting to do collaborations, right? Some of these young ladies will have, one had 1 million followers, one had just almost 500,000 followers, another one had 280,000 followers. So they call me or reach out to me and say, hey, do you want to collab for a fee? So my response was, what am I paying for? And they say, well, I've got 500,000 followers. No, you don't. You don't have 500,000 potential customers. You got 500,000 people that want to look at your butt. Because that's all I see on your Instagram posts. And those are my clients, right? So just because you are everywhere, all over the place, doesn't mean you're effective. And some thought has to be taken for that, right? Now, no shade to these young ladies. I mean, that's their business. If that's what they got to offer and, they're doing their best to capitalize on that, then, more power to them. I'm not judging them. I've done things far worse than anything that they can do, and God extended me grace. So I'm not judging. But when it comes to me, I've got to be honest and transparent. Now, I didn't articulate it that way. I was very, very soft in my delivery because I don't want to make anybody feel bad about what they're doing. But as an entrepreneur, I wanted her to give her the game so she could shift her focus, right? She's presenting herself in a way where if that's the bait, right, you're going to catch a certain type of fish, right? So she appreciated it too, by the way. We had a much longer conversation than that. If you have a business, operations and systems will either take you to the promised land or take you to bankruptcy. You have to design efficient systems that remove bottlenecks, okay? If you guys text that number, that 702-710-8030 right now, you know I'm right here on this live. Or if you call that number, right? You know I'm right here on this live. That number does not ring to me directly. I'll see it come up on my desk, but an AI operator will answer it, ask you some questions. All right. I'll get your answers. I'll reach back out to you. That's not a very complicated system. That's a simple one. But if I have to answer every phone call, then that's taken away from what I'm supposed to be doing. So if you are an entrepreneur, that's taking away from what you're supposed to be doing. So you have to design efficient systems that remove bottlenecks. If you call and that AI answers and you hang up, guess what happens? You're going to get a text message that basically says, hey, we saw you call 4 Data Points Academy. What's up? How can we help you? Or something like that, right? And then I'll see your response. That's something that takes consideration. Most people can do a thing and then want to go out and make money doing that thing. That's a side hustle, all right? If you don't have all these things in place, your side hustle will be limited by a ceiling. What is that ceiling? Your capabilities and time. You can only do so much in 24 hours. So as much as you can generate in 24 hours, that is your ceiling. These systems and operational, processes allow you to scale up so you can do a lot more. So you got to figure out what tasks can be systematized or delegated. When people come to our Venture U business retreat, we're going to do all that for them. We're going to look at their business. We're going to dissect it. We're going to come up with that for them. How do I track my key performance numbers? We call them KPIs, key performance indicators. They are data points that you review to make sure you are achieving the outcome that you want to achieve. But first you have to establish them to know to review them. So that's something that has to, and if you don't know what those are, that's something that, you can get some help with. What gets measured gets managed. So set up simple ways to track your most important numbers so you can make smart decisions based on data and not guesswork. Folks, I know people, entrepreneurs that are, in the hundreds of millions of dollars. They are not the brightest people in the world. I'm telling you, that is a huge misconception. But there are some things that they do that 99% of the people won't do. One is they have an idea, they take action, period. I have people call me all the time. Man, I've been following you for a year and a half. And I'm thinking about, joining your mentorship program. Yeah, that's the same awkward silence they get. Because there's a part of me that understands that thought process because I've been there. There's another part of me that says, I don't think you're going to make it. If you can't make a decision, if you've got enough information and you've been pondering that information for, a year, you're just not going to make a decision. People that are successful take action. Do something, even if it's not with me, do something. All right. All right. Operations and systems, folks, are very, very important. And just as important is financial clarity, knowing your numbers. All right. I did a business plan. I like that show, Shark Tank. Y'all ever watch Shark Tank? And I did a business plan. And I didn't do the business plan because I wanted to get funding or get investors. I did the business plan because doing that business plan forced me to look at every single detail in my business. And I wanted to make sure that I wasn't missing anything. So I'll watch Shark Tank highlights, right? And the only highlights I watch are the questions that they ask. And I position myself, look, if they asked me that question, would I be able to answer it? So my business plan is almost 100 pages. I gave it to one of my investor friends, and not real estate investor friends, just general investor friends. And he was like, yeah, you need to trim this down. I'm like, what? How much? He was like, about 70 pages. But the exercise of doing it was very, very important to me. And some of the things I had to confront was, what are my monthly expenses and income targets? Because without clear targets, you're flying blind. But we don't always know how to establish those targets when we're starting a new business. A lot of this, 90% of this stuff, we don't know. We can figure some stuff out, but it's at a cost. So we need to know exactly how much we need to earn to stay afloat and how much more we need to grow. How am I managing cash flow? Profit is great. Cash flow is survival. You need to know when money comes in. You need to know when it goes out and how to avoid running dry. I've ran dry before, folks. It doesn't feel good. And those of you that are supporting a family and you're the breadwinner and you got to go back to your significant other and say, hey, I'm gonna need you to cover the mortgage this month. What? I just covered it last month. Hey, welcome to entrepreneurship. Those are conversations that need to be had sometimes. All right. So here's your reality check. This is where most business owners fall short, by the way. They focus on making money, but ignore managing it. So without clear targets and control over cash flow, even great businesses can crash. At Venture U, at this business retreat, we're going to take a deep dive into the numbers that matter most. Not just revenue goals, but expenses, break-even points, cash flow timing. Every business is different, so we're going to have to work with you to create a financial game plan that fits your stage, model, and growth goals. But we will. Leadership. Who's your team? I want to spend some time on this one. Some of y'all are around people that you know you shouldn't be around. Period. Some of you are around people that you know you shouldn't be around. Let me share my perspective on that. I am 49 years old in relatively good shape. I probably got about maybe 38 summers left. Statistically, I've got less than that. So how I look at time is different than the average person. And let me share with you some of the things that shouldn't irritate me, but they do. If you call me, I'm just talking about my personal friends, just people that I knew growing up or whatever. If you call me at 2 p.m. for no reason other than to say, what's up? You could have texted that. I get offended by that. I do. I get offended by that. If I involve you in something that I'm doing and create an opportunity for you and you don't take advantage of it, I get offended by that. Now, I can't expect people to go as hard as I do, right? That's just not realistic. I'm 31. I'm at 9 summers left to get rich. You know, you get rich as quick as you can. Don't put a time on it. Get rich as quick as you can. All right. But the people that you surround yourself with are either going to lift you up or they're going to drag you down. And you got to make a decision. People say, well, entrepreneurship is lonely. I like being, it's lonely. You're alone, but you're not lonely, right? I like being alone. I like building these things. I like only focusing on my students. I like not leaving the house. I live in the San Francisco Bay Area. What's out there? How many brunches you going to go to? It's another thing that irritates me. It shouldn't. And folks, I'm not saying that if you do these things, they're bad things. These are just things that irritate me. I'm not saying that they're bad. I'm just things that irritate me. Right? When one of my friends calls and was like, ooh, my 40th birthday is coming up. What you celebrating? What are you celebrating? That you just still here on earth? There's a lot of things seem like an enormous waste of time. Now, again, these are things that I hold internally. I don't verbalize this to people because people don't mean any harm. People are just who they are. It's sometimes, it is what it is, right? But when you are focused and your priorities are where they're supposed to be, and you have a goal and you support a family, and you are obligated to take people to the promised land with you, when you obligate yourself to be able to do that, you start to see the nonsense immediately, right? You are no fun. I am fun. Just, C-Dub 2K says I'm no fun. I'm fun, but there is a way to have fun. I'm not waiting in no lines. Period. I don't like time is, yeah. If we have fun, we're going to another country to do it. We can go to Kenya. We can go to Medellin. We can go to Senegal. We can go to Gambia. We can go wherever in the world to have actual fun. Because if the finances and everything isn't in order, it doesn't matter where in the world I am. My mind is not going to be there. So I'm not going to realize any peace by doing that. Right? And a lot of people don't see that. Right? A lot of people don't see. Now I have some fun, man. I'm like 3 Skittles short of a Diddy party fun, right? So, sorry, that didn't age well. All right. So It's okay to have fun and do all those things, but you got to prioritize. And I have to manage my expectations of other people because they're not on the same journey I am. I know people that they like to kick it every single weekend and they're happy. Why would I tell them to do anything else if that's what's making them happy and they're not hurting anybody? But then don't come ask me for money or don't come ask me for an opportunity when I'm the one breaking, my back every single day and sacrificing every single day. And because you don't want to get on your job or you don't want to walk through the door that I created and take advantage of an opportunity, now you come to me asking me if I can write a check. Yeah, no, I can't. Matter of fact, I don't even want to go out because I'm the one picking up the check and treating everybody 90% of the time. You start to see those things as an entrepreneur. And you're like, I could have been, we went out, I could have spent this $2,000, $3,000 on ad spend. So how we view money becomes different, right? Well, if I know my numbers and I know how many ads it takes to generate so much revenue, then that revenue amount is my opportunity cost for deploying this capital at some club or some lounge or whatever, right? You got to think that way. Most people don't, which is why most people are poor. And I'm not talking about poor, meaning have no money. Having no money is a byproduct of being poor, right? Poor is the thought processes and all of those things going on in your mind and limiting beliefs and all of those, that negativity that keep you poor. That's what I'm talking about. I done been broke before. I know people worth millions that are broke right now, cash broke. All right. It's only going to be temporary. So don't worry about that. Build support as you grow. You can't do it all forever. What roles do I need filled next? If you are starting a business, understand every role that you are going to have and then create a job description as if you're going to hire somebody tomorrow. A job description for that role or a job rec for that role. Growth requires support. Focus on the first roles that will free up your time and move the business forward. Not just the roles you like the most. How will I lead and manage a small team? I know limiting belief says, look, I can barely afford my own rent. I can't afford to hire a team. Put it down on paper. Leadership isn't about doing everything yourself. It's about creating clarity, setting expectations, and empowering others to perform at a high level. Put it down on paper. As if you had the money to hire somebody, what would they be doing? And what system do you have in place that you can hand them that they can follow? That's repeatable. Now, again, these are just 8 things that I'm going over, but they're important and they're kind of the core 8, right? The core 8. And I'll do a recap in a second. Here's a big one for me. Mindset and personal growth. Mindset and personal growth. Most of you guys heard about the Tony Robbins event that I went to that I was joking about. Great event, right? I had an $800 ticket. Me and my friend Dimitri, who was, I'm leasing out some property, so that's why these calls keep coming in. My friend Dimitri, who was he's been good with money ever since we was kids. Like I wouldn't be surprised if he wore a sport coat to junior high. Right? We went to the Tony Robbins event. Me, I was making a lot of money, but I didn't have really a wealth mindset yet. And I wasn't really big on writing somebody a check for personal development, right? I'm not going to write you a $5,000 check for you to tell me to go think positive, right? I can get the Disney Channel for that, right? But I went to this event with him some years ago, $800 ticket. It was a VIP ticket. I got there, realized that the VIP wasn't the most VIP there. It was like the third from the top. So when the concierge came, I asked the concierge, I was like, look, hey, something's going on here. I'm a VIP. I need to be on the floor. I want to see Tony Robbins. I want him to see me, right? We can laugh, crack jokes, and have an inside joke maybe here or there. She was like, oh, no, you're right where you're supposed to be right here. I said, well, what about the section right below me? And I know some of you guys have heard this story a million times. I said, well, what about the section right below us? Because we weren't on the floor. We weren't even up on the side. We were on the second level up on the side. And the young lady says, that's VIP Deluxe, right? That's right, country fella. Everybody was VIP. It was like, that's VIP Deluxe. So at that point, I was a little bit frustrated. I was like, you know what? Give me the ticket to where I could be on the floor, not just in the floor, in the front. So whatever that takes. She got excited. She said, oh, those are our platinum members. I said, all right, well, point me in the platinum side. They said, okay, well, we're actually having a special for our platinum memberships. You know me, stupid and arrogant. I was like, sweetheart, look, I got a lot of problems. Money ain't one of them. right? That's the energy I was giving out. So she said, yeah, the what do you call it? The platinum membership is $85,000 a year. Now, folks, I was doing okay. I wasn't doing $85,000 a year okay. Far from it. But I was already committed to this way of being in front of this nice young lady that I had to fix my face. I had to consciously tell myself, do not change your facial expression after that $85,000 comment she just made. But you ever get so uncomfortable, you don't even know where to put your hands? Like that's how bad it was for me. I'm standing right there next to Dimitri, and I think I swallowed loud. You know when you swallow real loud and you're not paying attention to it. But I wasn't going to let her think that this $85,000 had threw me off, right? But my mind had already made up. There is no world, galaxy, or universe, this dimension, or any other where I am writing a check for $85,000 for somebody to tell me stuff, yet alone writing it every single year. But I had to keep my cool. I had to keep my face like, okay. I look at Dimitri thinking that Dimitri is going to bail me out. He is a good friend of mine. So Dimitri, I look at him, his job is to say, you know what? We got some other stuff we was talking about considering. Let's go think about it. We'll come back. I look at Dimitri. This man looks me dead in my eye because the special is 2 people can join for $85,000. That was the special. Still, face, ironclad. I look at Dimitri to bail me out. This man looks me dead on my face and says these words. That's only $40-something thousand a piece. So he obviously didn't pick up on the energy. The energy, it wasn't the math that I was struggling with, is what I was trying to tell him. So now I say I got to bail myself out of this situation. So I look back to this lady, still don't know where to put my hands. Now I just feel stupid. So, when you feel stupid, you start getting nervous. You start asking stupid questions like, so do you guys take credit card, or do you take it right here? Or do we go to you know what? I'll tell you what, I'm gonna sit back in this VIP spot where I was sitting at first. And then are you going to be here? Are you going to be? Do we just flag you down? I'll tell you what. You probably got to go. I won't say I'm out. I took my tail between my legs. I go back to this VIP situation, looking stupid. Sometimes the Holy Spirit will humble you, right? I love how God he loves me, but he will he will humble me. So I walk my sorry ass back to this VIP section, and we're talking about personal development now. And Tony Robbins comes out. And I've seen his documentaries and all that, but there's still that certain part of who I am that thinks I know everything. So I'm already a skeptic. What you gonna tell me that I don't already know? You gonna tell me think positive? Convince me I can do anything as long as I apply my mind to it? So he comes out, and the first thing that he says is, hey, look, I'm not a guru. I'm not here to fix anybody because nobody's broken. That perked my ears up. I was like, oh, okay, all right. I wasn't expecting that one, but okay. So fast forward, I think it was about 3 or 4 days, and I can't sit still for 3 hours, just sitting listening to folks. I can't do it, nor do I want to. When I tell you we started at 8 o'clock in the morning and didn't get out of there until 2 o'clock in the morning every day, and it was dope the whole way through. Like it was like, and I'm telling you that. And by the way, folks, I don't have a dog in this fight. I don't have an affiliate agreement with that organization. I'm just keeping it real with y'all. Matter of fact, I'm gonna take some of my students to one of the UPW when it comes again. All right. So day 2, it's about halfway through day 2. I was so impacted by what was going on. Guy comes up on stage. I forgot his name, another dude. He was like, hey, everybody, you having a good time? Blah, blah, blah. We have some other events going on. We've got it was called a wealth mastery event. And then there was a life mastery event. And then there was something called Date with Destiny. I'm sure some of you guys are familiar. And then there was another UPW, Unleash the Power Within, which is the event we were at. He said, normally it's 15,000. Today, you can get them all, 10,000. And the first 200 people get some incentive. I forgot what it was. I think it was another event or something like that. When I tell you I jogged up to the front, he wouldn't even finish talking. I jogged up to the front. I couldn't even get to the front of the desk. There were so many people buying that $10,000 situation. And black folks got a habit of counting your pockets. So I'm sitting there just counting the people. Let me see, 1 of 10,000, 20,000, 30,000. Oh, Tony Robbins doing nice up here. He doing nice up here for the food not to be free. Oh, that's how we do. I'm sorry, we petty too sometimes. So I ended up doing it, right? And but the good thing is I wasn't one of the first 200 people, but they gave me a hat. I call it the $10,000 hat. So, fast forward, we leave the conference. So it's to the end of the conference. And here's a little sidebar. At the end of the conference, they have something called a fire walk that I'm sure you guys know about. If you Google it, you can see. And this is where one of the things I love about these conferences is it has nothing to do with your culture, how you look, your color. It's just all good people wanting to be better people. And that's an outstanding experience. That's an outstanding experience. It doesn't matter what our differences are, what you think of the world and the negativity and all the things going on. These are all good people wanting to be better people. And they treat each other with dignity and respect, and it's just a really positive environment, right? I didn't remember I was black until the last day when they lit them fire coals. We walked outside. There was 40 fire lines of coal, right? And again, me thinking I know everything. I'm gonna outsmart the system. I'm gonna go ahead and walk these coals, but I'm gonna go so fast. Like when you touch a burner on the stove to see if it's hot, you don't leave your hand on there. You just touch it. You don't get burned. I'm gonna do that with my feet. And Tony said, hey, don't try to buck the system. Some of y'all gonna get burned if you don't pay attention to what I'm saying. And he taught us how to focus and how to, what to say, what to focus on, the whole thing, right? So we walk into the fire pits, and I'm like, I'm gonna do it. And then my blackness started kicking in. Negro, is you about to walk on some fire for no reason? What are people going to say? And the funny part is there was other black people sprinkled in the crowd walking over there, and we all made eye contact with each other at some point. And it was just we was all telepathically saying the same thing to, let's just keep this here. Like what happens here stays here, right? Because if I get burned up on this fire, black people are going to talk about me to the end of time, right? Well, yeah, no business walking on no fire. No way. I don't know what you was out there thinking you was doing anyway. So that's when my blackness kicked in. So, and this is when I quit. This is when I was like, no, I'm not gonna do it. So it was a white dude, cool white dude, right? Because we were talking I knew him from inside. White dude, black girl, little black, not little like young, but like petite black girl. Then me, Black Otis. I'm third. So I'm gonna do it. Right? I'm going to do it. One, I'm like, first of all, I'm no punk. My parents didn't raise no punk. If a human can do it, if 14,000 of these folks is going to do it, I'm going to do it. White dude goes first. I love white folks and their sense of adventure. I love y'all. That's what I wish I could adopt that from some of y'all. He goes across, burnt his ass up. That's me. I'm checking out. I'm done now. That's all I needed to see was Jared get burned. So Jared got burned. So when I saw him get burned, I kind of slid out of line. Like, how you you look for an excuse to slide out of line. Like I pretend my phone rang and I was like, oh shoot. Hey, no, I'm here. I'm gonna do it. Yeah, I'm gonna do it right now. Where you at? Yeah, come on, I'll meet you. Like that was me on the phone, pretending. There was no one on the phone. Didn't even ring, but I'm getting out of line. So I go to the back and I see this little petite sister go up there. And I knew her from inside too, man. She was sharp. She was super sharp, man. When I talk about ambitious and just on it, right? Her perspective was great. Everything was great about her perspective. So she was kind of like, oh, I don't know if I should go. And then the people that were kind of encouraging her, the people that were facilitating it, and they were yelling, they were like, you can do it, dude. Da, 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 da. When I say she walked across them coals slower than Jared did, the first dude, slower, and did not have a mark on her foot when she got to the other side, I said, okay, there's something to this. This mind over matter. Now I understand why it's called Unleash the Power Within, because we are all powerful enough to accomplish whatever we want to accomplish. We just don't, because all of that other BS toxicity gets in the way. Now she got me confident enough to walk across them coals too. I didn't do it, but she had me confident enough to, I feel, right? I'm still, I may do it again some other time, but I like my feet. But this is the point that I want to make. When I left that conference, my income increased 5 times over. I didn't learn a new skill. I didn't have a new way of doing things, but I saw the world through a different set of lenses and approach what I was already doing with a different attitude and perspective. And folks, I have no dog in that fight. So when I'm teaching people, whether it's how to invest, whether I'm doing an event on the entrepreneurial side, whether I'm bringing in subject matter experts to put these things together for people, we do spend some time on mindset and personal growth. Because a lot of you are one thought away from achieving, and this sounds like a motivational video that you would pick up, right? A lot of you are one thought away from achieving the quality of life that you want to achieve. But you got to do something. So we do focus on mindset and personal growth. Your business can only grow as much as you do. I put money into personal growth every single year. I went to Fiji for life mastery. I went to Fiji for wealth mastery. I went to West Palm Beach for date with destiny. Spiritually, I'm always trying to grow, because none of the real estate and all this other stuff don't matter, folks. All right. I know people with a lot of money that are freaking miserable. I was one of them at one point. I had everything I wanted. I was miserable, and I couldn't figure out why. So yes, if you are looking as an entrepreneur to build, just remember your business can only grow as much as you do. Here's something that you guys can take with you that I think is going to be very, very valuable. Understand the bad things that happen and appreciate them. Spend some time in them, like get the whole bad thing experience, because those are the only things that are going to develop you into the person that you need to be able to manage when all the good things come, right? If you can't manage the bad things when it's a $10,000 conversation, how are you going to manage the bad things when it's a $10 million conversation? I'll tell you how. You navigate through the bad things at the $10,000 level and the $20,000 level and the 30 and 40 and 50 and 100,000 and 200 and 300. So by the time you get to the $1 million level or the $10 million level, you don't have imposter syndrome because you know you belong there. And I think that's what a lot of people minimize. That's what a lot of people forget. When I walk into a room now, I don't care what happens in the room. I'm not walking in there begging. I don't care if I don't have a dime in my pocket. I'm not walking in there hoping. I'm not walking in there begging, because I know I belong there. And I didn't always start off that way. I had to go through a lot to get to that point. So yes, and I'm going to do a recap for everybody when we're talking about, the 8 things that you need to focus on when you're starting a business. We're talking about real estate. We shifted it to the entrepreneurial stuff. All right. What habits or beliefs do you need to strengthen? What habits or beliefs do you need to strengthen? When I talk to somebody that wants to be a real estate investor, one of the questions that I ask them is, hey, I want you to go buy a 20-unit apartment building tomorrow, because I want to see what they say. Now, by the way, it is possible to buy a 20-unit apartment building without using any capital up front, borrowing everything, structuring it to where you can pay out of your exit strategy, as long as you know how to underwrite it and know that it's a building that will support that process. I already know that as a seasoned real estate investor. I don't ask the question for them to give me a similar answer. I ask the question so I can identify what limiting beliefs that they have. And then I can attack those limiting beliefs before I teach them how to invest in a piece of real estate. And I think the fact that I was in ministry for a few years exclusively, it shows up sometimes when I'm teaching people how to invest in real estate and do these entrepreneurial things and all that. How am I protecting my energy and focus? Men, I don't think we give this enough attention. You got to protect your energy. If you are somebody that is scrolling on Instagram and TikTok, there's nothing wrong with that. But you will notice that your energy level, right, your vibration level will be a lot lower the longer you scroll. You can start scrolling on these platforms, and by an hour into it, you hate white people, you hate black people. Black people are always running out of the Apple store, stealing stuff. All police are bad. The government's crooked. The CIA is up to no good. We're being spied on. It's getting too expensive. People are trying to take our country down from the inside. All of this negativity and stuff gets deposited into your subconscious by every crazy person out there that has an agenda. We hate men. We hate women. Women don't need men. Men don't need women. Like all of this garbage. You got to be able to insulate yourself from that and protect your energy and your focus. Distraction is the enemy of progress. Distraction is the enemy of progress. Let me say it one more time for y'all let me James just got in here. Let me say it one more time for James. Distraction is the enemy of progress. You need to guard your time, energy, and mental space like they are the most valuable assets, because they are. Because they are. Your business can't outgrow you. Strengthening your habits, beliefs, and focus, it's not an option. It's the foundation of everything else. It's the foundation that everything else is built on. All right? Your most valuable asset is the one between your head. Between your ears. You guys know what I mean. You get the picture, right? So develop that. No one can ever take that away from you. Now, I'm gonna do a quick recap, and then we're gonna shut it down. Okay, quick recap. We talked about the 8 focus points every business owner must master. The first, we got to identify who we serve and what they truly need. So who's my ideal customer and what urgent problem am I solving? That was one. The next, we need to develop a clear, irresistible offer. What am I selling exactly? Why would somebody choose me over others? Number 3, sales system. Build a repeatable sales process. How do I turn interest into paying customers? What is my step-by-step sales flow? Number 4, marketing strategy. Create awareness and attract your ideal clients. Ideal being the operative word. Ladies, don't over-sexualize yourself on Instagram. If you're selling insurance, I shouldn't know what your butt looks like. I'm just being honest and transparent. Somebody's got to tell you. All right? How do I consistently reach my ideal customer? Number, what are we on? 5, 4, 5? Operations and systems. Design efficient systems that remove bottlenecks. What tasks can be systematized and delegated? How will I track key performance numbers? Know your numbers. What are we on? 6, 7? Know your numbers. What are my monthly expenses and income targets? And how am I managing my cash flow? I know some of this stuff may sound complicated for folks that don't have this background, but there are people that can do this for you. Not just do it for you, because I don't think that's always going to be the best solution. I'll say do it for and with you, right? There's a reason why we're spending 5 days going over all these things. Team and leadership. Build support as you grow. You can't do it all forever. One of the limiting beliefs says, how are you going to build a team? You can't even pay yourself from your business. How are you going to pay people? Identify what roles need to be filled next, and then ask, how will I lead and manage a small team? Put it in place on paper like you have the money to do it, and you're going to start hiring people tomorrow. There's power in writing it down, folks. Mindset and personal growth. We just talked about your business can only grow as much as you do. What habits or beliefs do I need to strengthen, and how am I protecting my energy and focus? That is absolutely important. And those are 8. Those are all 8 of them. All right. Now, I got the guide. I got a guide. I'm just reading off a guide that I put together, folks. If you want it, ask me for it. I'll get it to you. You guys are funny. Thank you, Lillian, for laughing at my jokes. Shout out to Lillian. All right. So we're about to wrap it up in a little bit, folks. Get a pen. I'm gonna give you guys a phone number. You guys can, I'm gonna put it in a couple different places. So Clubhouse, I'm gonna put the number in the chat. This number is also on the link up top, meetotis.com. Meetotis.com is my digital business card. All of our stuff is on there. Everything we talked about is on there in some way, shape, or form. I always discourage people from going to my website and just swiping their credit card. I get nervous when people do that and they don't know me first. Because unless they've been following me for a significant amount of time, it makes me feel like they don't understand the value of what it is I do. And I would much rather have a conversation with them first than wake up and see that, a bunch of people just swipe their credit card. I would much rather have a conversation first than just wake up to see a bunch of people swipe their credit card on my website, right? We want to make sure that you're a good fit for us as well as us being a good fit for you. So again, we appreciate the money and the vote of confidence. Like, who wouldn't? But again, we want to make sure that it's a good fit. All right. So So you folks on Clubhouse, you can just text that number or go to meetotis.com, and you folks on TikTok, that information's on the top. Now, is there any questions about anything that I went over or anything that y'all starting to text right now? Okay. Or anything that I didn't go over that you have a question about? I got about 5 more minutes, but actually I got less than that. So if you have a question, anybody on stage on Clubhouse, if you have a question, just come off mic. You're more than welcome to ask it. Anybody on TikTok, I'm gonna give you guys another 30 seconds to type your question in about real estate or entrepreneurship in general. But if not, go ahead and take that contact information. If you have a question, you can just reach out to me there. I will be back tomorrow at 9 a.m. If you guys are on TikTok, follow our page at 4 Data Points. I'll put it in the chat for Clubhouse. The more opportunities we get, the more opportunities I pass on to my real estate family. And I think eventually I'm going to have a conference somewhere and invite my entire real estate family, all 350 folks or whatever it is. Go ahead and like, follow, and do all the stuff that people always ask you to do. But other than that, I think we're going to tap out. Michaela, is that you down there? Michaela, is that you on is that you, Michaela? Michaela's my daughter. Shout out to Michaela. Thank you for your service, sweetheart. She's 32 years old, and she's serving her country over in Italy, U.S. Navy. Y'all know what it is. That being said, we are out. Clubhouse, I'm going to shut this down. I will see you tomorrow. You guys enjoy the rest of your day. Live stream, we're going to shut this down. So YouTube and everybody and Facebook and Instagram, thank you very much. You enjoy the rest of your day.